Hello everyone, how you going? And welcome to the US versus the UK versus Australia country comparison. Now we've checked out the channel before the Geography Bubble. They made a very in-depth kind of factual video about the Australia versus Canada, and so now I just want to see kind of what the next best thing, or not the next best thing, but the other kind of friends of the entire country is. So let's just see what we got.
The United States of America, the United Kingdom, Australia. 3 amazing countries, 3 different accents. Welcome back to the Travel Bible. In this video, we'll be comparing the land of the free, the land of the tea.
Wait, for a second I thought that they were actually just putting those flags over that, and I was going, hang on a second, that's certainly not the right country, but at least then they just did the
land of
tea
the tea
after that.
And the land of the Aussie.
There
We'll
we
take
go.
a look at their
Doesn't really
demographics,
rhyme, but
geography, economy, and quality of life. And then once you've watched the video, we'll ask you which one you'd visit, which one you'd live in, and which one you'd avoid.
Here we go, the USA, the UK, and like I said, Australia.
So let's begin with their demographics by looking at the population of these 3 nations. Starting with the lowest, we have Australia, with roughly 25.5 million, putting them just below North Korea and just above Niger.
I think sure that we saw
However,
that last
for a
time, North
mind-boggling
Korea
fact,
is higher than us.
Niger's population is growing at an extreme
Whoa.
rate. By the year 2050,
4%.
it is predicted that Niger will have a population of roughly
2%,
65
4%.
million, compared to Australia, who will have roughly 33 million. And
is that double? Yeah, so they've doubled in 25 years. That's insane.
65 million, compared to Australia, who will have roughly 33
Wow, I
million.
wonder
And
who's
next we have
estimating
the UK, with a population of just under 68 million, putting them...
I actually thought that they had more than that. When was this made? Okay, it was actually made this year, so I guess I'll take it for what it is.
And finally, the 3rd most populated country on Earth, the US.
Wait, really? I did not know that. So it goes China, India, the US. I would never have thought that they were 3rd. I would have maybe, I don't know, maybe 5th, 6th or something like that. But I guess when you think about it, you go, yeah, actually there aren't too many just super highly densely populated countries. I mean, obviously Japan, that's got a lot of people. But hey, as we saw last time with the Canada versus Australia video, we are both massive countries just with a fairly sparse population. So it just gives us these ridiculous numbers, and we're not crowded with 330 million people.
However, what's more impressive is that India, who is the next most populated country,
an extra billion.
has over 1 billion more people
Holy
than the US.
moly.
Okay, great. Let's now take a look at the...
Let me just take that back to even just be able to take that number in. My goodness, to be able to have 1,050 million more people. That is insane. Like I said, I certainly didn't expect it to be the US, so I feel as though that's the main reason why I didn't expect the US to be 3rd, because you go China at like 1.5 something, then India at, let's just say, almost 1.4, and then the US, like you're dropping 1 billion by one place. That's just insane.
With 271 people per kilometre squared, the UK is the most densely populated out of the 3.
I mean, I know it's small, but I didn't realise that.
Next, we have the US with roughly 34 people per kilometre squared, which is crazy considering how densely populated cities like
33.
LA and New York City are. And then finally, a remarkable 3 people per kilometre squared, we have Australia.
Oh my goodness, that is insane. 271, I'm going to call it, people per square kilometre. I mean, like I said, I know the UK was small, but really their population, I certainly would not have thought that would have put them in a number like that, and then to drop down to 33. I mean, yeah, the US is a big place, and I'm kind of wondering if that number includes Alaska and other ton of territories that they have, but at the same time, to go from 333 million and put them in 33 people per square kilometre, it's just insane.
State of West Australia is even more remarkable.
What is
just
it?
0.89 people
What was that?
State of West Australia is even more remarkable at just 0.89 people per kilometre square. Alright, finally...
I mean, like we saw last time, there are certainly countries that beat that statement. No, WA is massive and very sparsely populated for its size.
Let's take a look at the life expectancy and average age of population
who's going to win
these
this
3
one?
countries.
We won last time.
As expected, this one is super close. Australia takes the win
Yes!
with life expectancy
Number
of
1 again.
82.4 years.
Look at that,
followed by
another
the
2
UK
years.
with 80.9, and then just behind we have the US with 80.1.
I wonder why
and then
that
for the
is.
average age, the US actually takes the win here.
Oh, wow.
With 38.2, followed by Australia with 38.8, and then the oldest out of the 3, the UK with 40.5.
Looking at this again, that's kind of surprising to me, because I always just think, like I said last time, I always think that Australia, well, it's always talked about that we have an aging population, and so for us to be, well, let's just say the youngest last time and kind of young here, it just certainly is quite surprising to me. I wonder why Canada and the UK have, well, 2 years on us. I mean, maybe 1.5, whatever you want to call it, but either way, they're just slightly older. Especially considering the fact that we have the oldest life expectancy at birth, and so I wonder how those two kind of, well, play tug-of-war with each other. But anyway,
UK with 40.5. Cool, let's now take a look at the geography of these 3 magnificent
the geography,
countries.
these are going to be very different.
By looking at the percentage of their landmass that's covered by forest. So, to my surprise, the UK actually has the least, at roughly 12%, followed by Australia with 16.2%, and then finally the US with 33% of their land covered by forest. 33%. Forests are beneficial to countries because they take carbon dioxide out of the air, make the air cleaner, and provide perfect habitats for incredible animals.
That's crazy.
Next,
Wait, no, I want to go back to that. That is insane. How the hell does Australia have a higher percentage than the UK? I just know the UK for just being like covered in trees and just being green. Like you go on maps, it's just green. It always rains, it always drizzles, so there's so much water around for everything to grow. And so for it to have, let's say, 12% and for us to have 4% more than them, I mean, that is just absolutely ridiculous to me. I don't really understand how. Like, I know last time they said that Queensland was a major kind of spot for all the forests, but really, that is still insane. And then, of course, the US is just streaming out ahead with more than double us. I'm fairly sure that was very similar to Canada's number, but no, that is insane. I just can't believe that we have more than the UK.
Next, we'll take a look at their total landmass, excluding inland and sea waters. So, to no surprise, the UK is by far the smallest out of the three, with a minuscule 242,000 squared kilometres. And then we have Australia at just under 7.7 million squared kilometres. And then finally, the largest out of the three, and the third largest in the world, the US, with roughly 9.2 million kilometres squared. Australia's largest state, Western Australia, accounts for around 2.5 million kilometres squared.
Yeah, look at that. You can just see how big Western Australia is. I never really knew about this little thing here. I don't know what the hell's going on there. That seems like a random dispute if you ask me, or maybe it's some little bit of water. I would hardly doubt it, but no, just look at the size of that state. Honestly, looking at that entire state just absolutely puts England, or really, I wonder if it's UK they're talking about or England, because that is even a little bit of a difference there. But no, the amount of Englands I'm going to say that can fit in there is just insane. We've seen it before. There was like 60 or 120 or something in all of Australia, and so yeah, just the fact that the WA is like what, maybe a third of the entire country certainly says that it's a big state. It's one of the, I think it might be the second or third biggest state in the world.
Western Australia alone is 12 times the size of the UK,
12.
and roughly 4 times the size of Texas.
The UK.
Western Australia alone is 12 times the size of the UK, and roughly 4 times the size of Texas.
That is insane. 4 times the size of Texas. Man, Texas is a big state, but WA puts that to shame. Oh, would you look at this? We'll come back to true size of one of my favorites. Oh, would you look at that? It's also including Alaska and Hawaii. Wait, hang on a second. Oh, he did. Okay, that makes sense. So I'm sure if you choose just the US, then it would actually just not do them, or I guess the other way around actually. But anyway,
no, just look at this. It's difficult to represent our 3-dimensional world on a 2-dimensional space, but they completely and utterly dwarf the UK. Okay, moving on to the economies of, starting off with their total GDP. The gross domestic product, all the final goods and services produced per capita, though, with an economy of roughly $1.3 trillion. Australia is the lowest out of the three. Then we have the UK with the...
Like I said, the US blows everyone out of the water. I mean, I guess that's certainly what happens when you're the biggest GDP in the world, but my goodness, what is that? Is that 20 trillion? It has to be. Wow, okay then, I guess I'll just continue letting him talk.
With a GDP of around 3 trillion.
3 trillion.
And finally, the big one, the world's largest economy, the US, with a phenomenal 20 to 21 trillion dollars. To put this in perspective, the second highest in the world is China, with roughly 15 trillion.
I mean, China's been massively growing. Look at that. Wow, that's almost like the population thing. You got these two massive guys up the top, and then up, you just knock off a, what, I guess a $10 trillion? But I never even realized that Japan and Germany were third and fourth. I mean, it certainly makes sense in terms of cars and all those kind of just technological, just exports, I guess you'd call them. But no, just like I said, dropping from 20 to 14 to 4 to 3, man, that's just a massive jump.
With 5 trillion and 3.8 trillion, respectively. And now that we've seen their GDP, let's take a look at the GDP per capita.
Hey,
so we get this by dividing the total GDP by the total population.
Surely Australia's
so the US takes a clear win here with $62,000.
I mean, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
The UK is actually the lowest with $45,500, and then sitting nicely in between is Australia with $52,200.
I mean, I guess going back to this graph right here, I guess that 62,000 is probably just because of the amount of billionaires that we saw. I can't remember the exact numbers, but I'm fairly sure it was like 400, then Australia is 31, and so of course those kind of GDPs per capita just get skewed so heavily towards the higher end. So I wonder what the median GDP would be. Instead of that, I can only assume that this is going to be the average, but yeah, overall they're fairly kind of in the same ballpark at least.
$500, and then sitting nicely in between is Australia with $52,200. And to end the video, let's now take a look at some quality of life statistics.
Quality of life,
with the obesity rates for these three nations. This is the percentage of adults in the country that are classed as obese. So unfortunately, it's not a great result for these three countries. The UK has the lowest at roughly 28%. Followed by Australia with 29%,
28, 29,
and the US
36.
with around 36%. It's quite obvious that the...
Wait, hang on a second. Once again, the obesity graph is a little bit skewed. It should certainly just be a little bit more like, but I guess overall, the entire thing is just, oh god, that is, it makes me just feel weird every single time I say that. That's just
standard
insane.
diet is extremely poor, or perhaps the education of health is poor, or maybe it's the constant bombardment.
There's just a lot of different factors that go into it, but man, it's just,
out of the three, only the UK has a
good.
public healthcare system. Australia has by far widely available. Out of the three,
has a public healthcare system. I don't know if that's entirely correct. I mean, maybe there's some definition that's just a little bit skew-if there, but either or, I would certainly argue that Australia has a public healthcare system. I don't really know how you can say that, but anyway, like obviously they have the NHS and we have Medicare, and obviously America doesn't really have anything, but at the same time, I just would love to know where they got that or what's going on there.
By far the most hospital beds and physicians.
There we go,
per
at least we
1,000
win something.
Perhaps this has something to do with their tight immigration rules. They only allow skilled workers who are needed into their country. So now it's your turn. I don't know if that makes me feel the best, but hey, I guess which one you live in, which one you visit, and which one you'd avoid, and why. We can't wait to read your comments.
No, you can't be doing this.
Let us know which city or countries we should do.
I'd live in London, visit New York City, and avoid Sydney because I'm scared of spiders. There's not that many spiders in Sydney.
Personally, I would live in Australia for the amazing quality of life and weather.
Yes,
I visit the
there
USA
we go.
because
Once
they have
again,
so
we've
many
got another
fantastic
winner.
states and cities with a variety of climates.
There we
and
go.
then I'd avoid the UK because I've lived here all my life. So if you did enjoy the video,
I mean, some people just have a little bit of attachment to the home, and other people, like he just said, God, I've lived here all my life. It is great every single day. Please let me out of this place. And so, hey, I certainly can't blame him. But no, that was a great video once again. It was just very factual, but it's always just very interesting to see it in graph form and to see it in all these different ways. And really looking at all these statistics, there is not one that you go, oh no, I certainly just way worse than any of the other ones. I'm never going to be going there. No, 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 no. Like really, you were very, very privileged to be living in any one of these countries. And so yeah, overall, just take your hat off to every single one. But man, we are lucky in some regards. But anyway, in saying that, I reckon I'm going to call it there. So thank you for watching this video. If you did enjoy it, make sure to do the YouTube algorithmic things down below. Also, if this is the first video of mine that you are watching, then make sure to check out some of the other ones that we've done, which are weird facts and random facts and also Canadian facts. Or hey, maybe even just want to consider subscribing so that you don't miss another one of these in the future. But all in all, have a good one and see ya.